illegal and intimate and all everything in between. 4 weeks into my kitchen porter career, I walked in proud as punch with my denim knife roll under my arm, and then you had very confused waiters coming up to the past saying, "I've worked here for 3 years and I've never actually seen you do any cooking."
That is a sentence that will never be repeated on this podcast. Welcome to the Only Chefs podcast. I am here today with Jesse Dunford Wood, who is the owner and proprietor of Parlour Restaurant and number 6 Portland Road in London. He is also the chef who creates everything there as well. So he is the man behind everything. And today we're going to be talking about his career, his life, his work, his opportunities, everything that has driven him to be where he is today. So thank you for joining us, and I hope you enjoy it. Welcome.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Ta-da! There we go, big jazz hands. Welcome. You well?
Lovely jubbly.
Lovely jubbly.
Yeah.
The life of a restaurateur.
Yeah. February blues. Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
Got payroll tomorrow.
That's always fun.
Yeah, there's always it's pinch.
Yeah, it's always a fun moment when you have to start sending money out and it's not coming in. That's always
70
good.
staff get paid tomorrow.
Wow. Is that how many you have employed?
One of them might have to wait till Monday.
I'm assuming that's you.
Sometimes I wait a bit longer than that.
Do you did you ever foresee it becoming 70 people deep when you first opened it?
No, there was about probably less than 10 of us started, and things grow. And I mean, I don't know how much vision I had beyond the opportunity of opening my own independent place, to be honest. That was always the goal from when I was about 19 years old, to open a place by myself.
That the entire, like, genuinely,
yeah.
If we were to find 19-year-old Jesse halfway down a pint glass, ask him exactly what he thought.
Yeah,
own my own restaurant.
Well, when I was 18, I left the structure and organisation and guaranteed meals of a boarding school to live a life of adult independence in London, going to art college. The only thing I failed to understand is that in order to survive, one must eat, and often eating requires cookery. Now, I was about 3 weeks into eating cheese and tomato sandwiches when I realised that this wasn't going to last very long unless I kind of do something serious about it.
That's quite haute cuisine by student standards,
Cheese
surely.
and tomato sandwiches. It was like Tesco value, the blue and white stripe bread, the cheapest, tasteless tomatoes. I might have splashed out on mature cheddar, and that was about it. But I honestly, I don't think I could boil spaghetti or anything. I'd never even thought about where food came from. And I was like getting hungry and bored and probably malnourished. So,
and the art was keeping the soul nourished, but not the body.
The art was educational purposes only. There was no financial gain from that.
Yeah. Said every artist ever.
Yeah, and I think I was the last.
Really.
I think I was the last generation of free secondary education. Is that what you call it? Higher education, or whatever you call it. I got a job in Sainsbury's home base. That didn't feed me. They had orange juice in powder form, which was really nice. And that was the culinary highlight of working at Sainsbury's home base. But then I kind of plucked up the courage to try and boil spaghetti, which I did. And then I remember quite vividly, it's probably a turning point in my whole life, of stirring a combination of Tesco value bat bacon, a whole rasher or two of in a frying pan, with tomato paste, and kind of dreaming about this kind of smoky tomato bacony sauce to go with my pasta, and it really wasn't looking like it was going to happen, and I didn't know how to make that fantasy come into reality. So,
but you unintentionally cooked chicken arrabbiata pasta, and then it was
it wasn't great. So, you know, a couple more months later, I managed to bodge together a bolognese that my new girlfriend didn't puke. And then, like, I invited a friend round, and by the end of a year, I was having quite outrageous dinner parties, and I'd broken the secret of cooking, or the fear of cooking, and I understood that cooking was part of the dinner party situation, but you could invite different people for a different vibe. You could manipulate the lighting, the music, the dressing up, the location, the tableware.
So you would become a restaurateur without even realizing it.
Well, I was just like a wandering creative mind, enjoying people, food, and that wonderful word of commensality. What is commensality?
Please.
The act of eating together.
There you go.
Okay. So I was at art college doing bits and bobs, graphics, photography, theatre design, fashion, but you know, you work out what you want to do. That was a foundation course. And then I got a place at Edinburgh to do graphic design and photography, but I wanted a year out. So I took a year out and I went to India, had a nice time there. And then when I was in India, I had another epiphany. The first one.
How many epiphanies have you had?
Well, you're allowed a few.
You're allowed a few, right?
I mean, is there any limits to epiphanies?
I think
they're kind of turning points in your life, or momentous moments. But these were career based. Yeah. The frying the dodgy bacon in a tomato paste, and then I was in Rajasthan in the middle of a desert, with a camel herder, just me and him. I don't know where everyone else was, and we shared a cup of tea together, chai, spiced masala chai, very nice. We had nothing in common. We had no language in common. We had no life experiences in common, but we shared, connected, and enjoyed the company of each other in that moment through the tea. And I thought that was a wonderful experience. And I was like, why am I messing around in art college, pursuing some creative thing that I hadn't quite put my finger on? My dad's an artist. When I could be pursuing food, which is something that can connect everyone in the world, regardless of background or age or anything. You know, I can delight a newborn baby, maybe not a newborn baby.
Well, by extension, via their mother. That's fine.
I can, and then I can delight a dying old man, and everyone in between. And we don't have to share a language or anything. And I can delight, you know, Ponzi Michelin restaurant lovers and truck drivers from Alabama.
So then that idea of it, because obviously your father's trade of being an artist, did you consider it edible art? Did you consider it an art form at that point?
Not
or is that
really. There's a difference between the words art and creativity, and I understood that it was creative, but what I also loved, which often art is lacking, is structure, organization, science. Often teamwork is lacking in art, and then that beautiful thing about food, which is potential immediate gratification on my side and yours.
That look on someone's face when you give them a meal,
Yeah.
it's unbeatable.
Yeah.
When you see that smile, and
Yeah.
they've either gone to a place where they had either forgotten or hadn't realised that they could transport themselves back to, right?
Yeah.
And it's just, you've tasted it and it's there, right?
And I also love the food in many different varieties is definitely for everyone. Even if the truck driver only likes chicken nuggets, but I can delight them with a chicken nugget or whatever it is. Not everyone likes the fancy stuff. Art is not necessarily for everyone, and there's huge kind of sections of people that couldn't care less for looking at a painting.
Yeah.
You know, so I thought food was an amazing human connector. Well, it is an amazing human connector.
It's about the only thing that really connects us, right?
I wanted to be part of that. Now, fast forward a few months on, let's say 6 months on from my epiphany in the desert with the Rajasthani camel herder, I ended up working.
By the way, that is a sentence that will never be repeated on this podcast.
I ended up washing dishes in a restaurant in Edinburgh, where I was just about to start a course in graphic design and photography, which, by the way, I never even started because I got this job washing dishes. And I love the camaraderie of the kitchen, the organisation of the chaos and the beauty that
comes from it.
Yeah. And I love the thrill and excitement of potential danger and chaos everywhere and struggling through it to create beautiful, organised, wonderful things. And it was a wonderful vantage point from this kind of corner sink where I was washing dishes to see how the kind of hierarchy worked, how the dynamic between the waiters and the chefs, the different chefs that were in charge, how good or bad or different they were, the mistakes that the apprentices made. And I came from a bit more of an educated, grown-up point of view. The apprentices were like 16 years old, and I was about 19 by then.
And this was back in the days when you used to just get held abuse almost constantly, or was it not? That
kitchen was not very abusive at all, but it was definitely stressful.
Yeah.
And then I noticed like the chefs brought in knife rolls made of canvas. I thought that's cool. And then my flatmate, she was studying, Laura was her name. I wonder if she's listening. She was studying.
Shout out to Laura if she's here. Yeah,
I can't remember her surname. She was studying theatre costume design, and I convinced her to make me a denim knife roll. And 4 weeks into my kitchen porter career, I walked in proud as punch with my denim knife roll under my arm, and everyone was like, "Who's the fucking English puff now? Comes in with a denim knife roll, what the fuck?" But I washed up as fast as I could and peeled mushrooms and
turned potatoes
and all the rest of it. And then I did that as fast as I could, and then I was still not busy. So I helped line pastry cases for the kind of frangipane tarts, or helped the sous chef making tortellinis. And then I started asking the head chef if I could buy 14 red mullet for a dinner party tomorrow. He's like, "What the fuck are you doing with all this, mate? You're washing dishes."
Why are you cooking red mullet? What are you selling it on the side?
Well, no, I was entertaining my friends, because suddenly I was living in a student flat with my student friends,
but not actually going to class.
I was earning money, working in a restaurant, and that was a great setup, really.
Because students are still awake when you finish work at 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And they don't wake up until the time you've got to wake up and go to work.
And
I thought
I kind of weighed it up. 4 years at university in Scotland, I would be in probably quite a lot of debt, starting at the bottom rung of a ladder of my whatever photography career, or 4 years in a kitchen, and actually I could be quite good after 4 years. I could have a skill I could travel with. I would have been earning money. Sack off the uni art college thing and continue with washing dishes.
So you've done a risk reward, an ROI on your on that experience, and just decided
Well,
that
it
actually
is, yeah.
maybe.
So my whole focus then was I want to open a restaurant. So how do you open a restaurant? You either have to be a really good waiter, you have to be a sommelier, or a chef. I wasn't completely in love with wine. I kind of weighed it up in that I thought waiting tables was more of a natural skill. You can hone it and you can do it, but it's a bit more natural. That's not years and years of training, I don't reckon. Cooking is like never-ending learning.
I tell you what, in Europe somewhere there are some French people who are about to lose their mind. What do you mean he does not think this is a skill?
So I thought I'd approach it via the kitchen, but it wasn't. Honestly, it wasn't ever to be like a great chef. It was to open a restaurant. That was the aim, not the chefing bit. Yeah,
always that.
Yeah, I mean, but I wanted to approach it from the kitchen.
And so, I mean, career highlights from my stalking you on the internet,
all right, yeah.
which happened, which is nice. You worked Charlie Trotter's.
Yeah.
Arguably one of the most prestigious places to work in America.
Yeah.
You opened with Oliver Peyton the National Dining Rooms there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it Launceston Place?
Kensington Place.
Kensington Place. For Rowley Leigh.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, back at that time would have been
Rowley was great. I loved
pinnacle.
I still love Rowley.
Yeah.
I did love working there, and I've been working in like fancy 2 Michelin-star Gidley Park with one-armed Michael Caines, and I'd been brainwashed into cooking 1990s Michelin-star food, and Gordon Ramsay, Eric Chauveau, I don't know, all of these people.
Kaufman, I suppose, to a degree, but he's probably a bit
Kaufman
earlier.
was a bit of the other generation. Let's say Phil Howard and a few others were all cooking very similar food at a very similar level, high level. Tom Aikens, he was a bit more creative. And I'd been working there for 2 or 3 years, and I loved it, and I loved the organization and structure, but the creative boundaries were hugely limited because it was so controlled. And also, having not been educated in cooking, I'd missed out quite a lot of fundamental foundation cookery working in an environment like that, which I did love. But then when I went to Kensington Place, I made a hollandaise sauce for the first time. Never done that before. I made a bechamel sauce for the first time. Never done that before. Cooking a steak on a grill and chips. I'd never really done that before. Yeah. Suddenly I was cooking real food. Fish soup, which is still on my menu today. I'd never done that before. And I had some omelettes. We had omelette on the menu. I loved the pressure of making a perfect omelette in the chaos of a busy service.
And this is just herb fiend.
Yeah, exactly.
Butter.
It basically
egg.
has to take 45 seconds.
Yeah.
Unless you fuck it up, and then it's another 45 seconds, and you better get it right that time, and it can really send you down. If you've got 3 omelettes on, you've got to nail it.
Oh my God, there's just panic attacks of just like watching chefs.
Because there's not a lot of room for error in a thing that takes literally 45 seconds. Hot pan, clarified butter, you got your egg mix, you got your herbs and salt, bum, mix, set it, tap it down, turn it over, send, done.
Yeah.
And
a plush salad garnish of
this is chervil only.
Oh
yeah, starter.
Oh the beautiful days.
Yeah,
a starter of an omelette.
So I loved it. I loved the Rowley influence on me, and it had some very everyday dishes which were always on the menu.
Yep.
And you knew you could go to that restaurant and have that dish, and lots of people do that kind of thing. They go to certain restaurants for certain dishes.
They gravitate for that.
Yeah.
For that single dish,
and it's guaranteed. But then he also had
like your cow pie,
exactly,
maybe?
and then he also had seasonal treats on.
Yeah.
Whatever it might be, spring lamb, mackerel and rhubarb, or
Asparagus,
whatever
yeah,
it is, asparagus, alongside his everyday things. And that's how we basically write the menu at Parlour, because I love the fact that people know that they can come for a cow pie. And I love the fact that I know people can come for something that they've not tried before.
So not to put you on the spot too much right now, how many flavours of Arctic roll do you currently have on the menu?
Arctic roll, probably more than 10, and we've probably got about 5 that are still in the deep freeze, which haven't been on the board yet.
And that is as much, because I mean, the Arctic roll is something that anyone who's had institutional dinners as a kid will understand, right? It's sponge, ice cream in the middle, thanks very much. But the idea behind
and some
that,
jam to stick it.
Oh, with some jam to stick it, of course. How dare we forget the obligatory strawberry jam?
Yeah.
But that microcosm of dessert right there is a fair example of how you approach your food. A bit of fun, but also some homage and everything else in between, right?
I like familiarity. I like people being able to understand it, mostly. I like to for there to be the opportunity for mystery, and discovery. And I'm a massive believer in the concept of undersell and overdeliver. And I also really strongly believe in a well-written menu with my addition of personality.
Okay.
And you can sit down and read the menu and realise that someone's behind it, rather than it be a list of ingredients or just another menu and written in a way. Yeah.
That style has, and I think it's always the point that we like to try and make here, is that is style, that is learning that has been developed over 30 plus years of working in business, right? And you're now not just, I mean, you are still a chef because that's what you do, but you're an entrepreneur as well. You're someone who has opened multiple restaurants.
Yeah.
That has to then give you confidence that you can pretty much do anything you put your mind to, right?
Yeah. I've had quite a positive career. I've had quite a forward-moving career. Although over the last year, I've had quite a confidence knocking,
yeah,
and a reality check, and a obvious public failure in opening and closing a restaurant within a year. And
do you not think you may be a bit harsh on yourself on that one?
I think a lot of people in a lot of jobs, they can mess things up, and most people don't know.
Yeah.
And you can even go home to your wife and say, yeah, day was all right, I suppose.
Yeah.
You know, I've opened a restaurant to local fanfare in my local community where I live.
Yeah.
And I've also failed in keeping it open, and humiliatingly closed it and still have to walk past it most days. And that's on my doorstep.
Yeah.
And everyone knows Jesse didn't do a very good job there, even though everyone was very supportive in me doing it in the first place. And I thought I was fairly good at my job, and everyone else thought I was good at running those kind of operations, restaurant, but it's something didn't work there. Anyway,
well, I mean, I think that's, you know, I personally think you're probably being a little bit unfair, or not unfair, but you set a very high expectation, and anyone who wants to professionally cook, and this is always something that you hear a lot, anyone who wants to professionally cook is always going to be their own worst critic, because they can always think they can do it better, or there's something else that can be done differently to do that.
Yeah.
And you know, what's the stat? 1 in 3 restaurants in the UK closes within 3 years.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you've had 2 restaurants open for a lot longer than that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
It's an interesting experience for me, and it's a humbling experience, and it's a real experience that a lot of people have experienced in their life.
Yeah.
And, you know, after we closed, some people that I have respected in my life and in business have said, "Don't worry, mate. You know, I've closed a few. Don't worry, I've closed a few places."
Yeah.
And it happens. So that's comforting, and it's like getting your heart broken for the first time. You know,
you never forget the first heartbreak, right?
Well, exactly. You don't always marry that first person that you meet and never experience heartbreak. And in order to be a better, stronger, more thoughtful person, you probably need to experience that as part of your education.
There is, I have a bit of a running theory at the minute about making mistakes.
Yeah.
The modern day work, life, everything that goes in between it, the mistake is treated with such catastrophe that the making of it is sort of everything finishes and it's the end of everything. And actually making mistakes is almost the best way of learning how to do something better. And you've got to do it. And I have a number of employees. I don't have 70. They're not actually mine because I work for a company, but I have over 100 people working for me, and they all make mistakes and they get really worried about it. And I understand why, but at the same time, you make a choice. It has real world consequences if it's not right, short of not killing anyone, which we can unfortunately be held liable for in our line of work with if we poison someone or give an allergy food to someone. Short of that, we make a decision, we make a mistake. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but the decision is always better than the indecision, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad I did the whole thing, and it's been a very interesting experience to build, create, and then shut down everything that you've just done.
But then you still have your 2 restaurants that keep you very busy.
Yeah. We've got plenty to do, don't worry.
There's still plenty of cleaning to be done.
Yeah.
And so how is, I mean, we spoke very quickly about it earlier. How is business 24-25?
I enjoy it. It's always a bit of a struggle. There has been an impact in the other 2 businesses as a result of closing Harvest. But we had a very interesting year in Holland Park last year with various staff dramas, which ended up with me working in the kitchen for about 2 months, which was fun. I think I've only done about 2 weeks in that kitchen, and we've been open 5 years. But this is where it's handy that I've worked in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And I know my way around.
There's a wry smile on your face there. So clearly, as hard as it may have been, was there something quite comforting to know that you still got the chops to pull it off wherever you go?
Well, yeah, it was fascinating it was interesting for me. I understand how 6 Portland Road in Holland Park is run. I know what it could be, what it should be, how it can be. I basically built the kitchen and set the whole place up, but I'm not there day to day, and I'm not really there in service ever. But when we opened 5 years ago, I specifically spent a few weeks washing dishes and doing a bit of cooking there just to make sure I understood the limitations of a 2-man kitchen, half the size of this room, and the kind of environment and style that I wanted and was somewhat expected by the local community. So for me, I literally got a call from the manager at 11:45 on a Tuesday lunch saying, you might need to come in because there's no chefs and we're fully booked for lunch. So me and the head chef from Parlour jumped in. we were literally reading the menu and looking for the chicken and the cos lettuce and the morel sauce, and by 12:15 we knew what we were doing, and we did lunch service all fine. But we've got a great new chef, we've got a great new manager, and we've just had a little bit of a reset, and that was great for everyone. And then you had very confused waiters coming up to the past saying, "I've worked here for 3 years and I've never actually seen you do any cooking. Do you know what you're doing?" I was like, "Yes, all right, mate."
It might not appear like it just right now, but trust me, I got this.
Sometimes I do feel like people just think I'm this person that just like swans around and
what, an amorphous blob that's just there, like Jesse's turning up today.
I'll never forget having a tour of the oldest restaurant in London called Rules.
Yes.
And my godmother was very friendly with the owner, and he took me on a very grand tour of the whole building, the busy kitchen, the wine cellar, the offices, the private dining rooms, and everywhere. And then I said to him, "So what do you actually do all day?" Because everyone had their obvious role. And then there was this guy called the owner who just kind of walks around, and it's funny. Some people have a very glamorous
vision of what
it is. And then,
how many times did you have your hand down a toilet last year?
Oh, you name it. I've fished out all sorts of things from blocked sewers. And I'm the first to put my hands up for all that jazz. And
having to put back Kensal Rise after Carnival every
the things
August.
that you find outside the front door, illegal and intimate, and all everything in between.
Beautiful.
So
how did a career in cooking prepare you for finding such things?
You have no idea. I mean, you just got to be game for anything, really. I mean, I was talking recently about the difference between the everyday workings of a restaurant environment versus a pub environment. And a pub environment, you have your newborns and your old ladies and everyone in between, and you get your builders and your bankers sitting next to each other. That's not quite the same in Holland Park restaurant. There's far less babies, if any. There's very nearly no builders, and if they are, they're in charge. And there is quite a few old men actually, but they're rich old men. So the pub environment, you have to be open to anything happening, because anyone comes in and they treat it like their home. Sometimes they respect their home and sometimes they don't.
Sometimes put their feet on the furniture and think that it's game for it. Do you when you look at your, we'll call it an empire. When you look at your empire, you are Julius Caesar. Looking out, is there something that strikes you as you're really proud of, that you go, yeah, that was me, and that is the thing that I've, in 20 years of cooking, 30 years of cooking, that's the thing that I'm really, really proud of?
One single thing.
Is there one? It doesn't have to be, but
probably the greatest single thing that I'm most proud of is still being open after 12 years. How about that?
I think that is well worth a commend.
I have seen so many places close in the time that we've been there. And I think it's admirable in hospitality. They talk about dog years and human years, restaurant years.
So I used to have this theory, and I used to get laughed out of interviews every actual job interviews, not interviews like this. Job interviews where I used to explain to people, if you work in an independent restaurant and you're routinely doing, and back in the day I was routinely doing 60 to 70 hours a week, that is basically like 2 full-time jobs you're doing. So actually, if I've worked in a restaurant for 1 year, I've actually technically done 2 years of work there. Now, that doesn't do you much good when you're trying to convince someone to give you a job with that thought process. But I think there is a lot of validity.
Well, imagine doing that
twice over times.
Well, and then not getting paid. That's even better. Yeah,
that's a fun one.
So when the times get tough, you do your 2-person job and you don't get paid, so you're saving a lot of money for someone.
I'm assuming it's known as the tax man.
Well, yeah, I like him too.
Yeah, we all like him. He's great. We're going to like him even more at the end of March. So then this sort of development of your style, the idea of what you can create, you have your restaurant with Parlour, then you have Portland Road as well. I mean, from my understanding, and I've met a few of your team over the years, you've managed to retain quite a number of people.
Yeah, we have a great core of people, and then we have quite a lot of young flaky people as well, which is interesting. And the older I get, the more I fear for the younger generation.
I feel like I think you're reverse aging. I think you're getting younger looking every time I see you. I promise you I'm not trying to flirt with you, but I'll give it a try.
but there is a great, serious, long-serving and loyal core to the team, which I'm very lucky and proud of.
How have you managed to do that?
Stick to the vision, be true to my word, be reliable, listen, lead, be kind, be generous, be understanding. I think they're all human qualities that we can all aspire to, really. It's nothing to do with any particular business, but I mean, I was slightly brought up a Quaker, and no one ever knows anything about Quakerism, but the fundamentals of Quakerism is about a life of moderation, being kind, and non-violence, which probably could solve those 3 things, could solve a lot of issues in the world.
Yeah, I guess, right?
And it's not very religion specific or environment specific. It's just a good philosophy for life.
And so that has bled into your entire existence in work.
I don't often think necessarily about Quakerism, but I do think about the concept of moderation, even though it's not that obvious in my working any life. But the idea is there at least.
So not scheduling people to do 3 back-to-back doubles unless you absolutely have to, but
I don't do the rota, so I can't be blamed if people are
good,
actually doing it.
That's smart.
But I will always punish myself over others, and I will do the 5th, 6th, 7th double in a row to give them 2 days on and 2 days off or whatever it might be. But yeah, you there is a really important human connection needed in order to forge meaningful, lasting adult relationships. And you've got to invest yourself a little bit into the person and care about them, rather than, I pay you this money, you do your job, and then we're happy. You've got to be human about it. I mean, that I do have to be authoritative. I do have to be in charge. You don't always have to be angry, and you don't have to be nasty about it.
But sometimes people do need to know when they've not done a good job, right?
Well, it is important not to ignore it.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. I mean, I think management is a fascinating thing that can be talked about for a whole other podcast probably. And learning management on the job without any experience is also fascinating. I mean, you've got to look a lot to how other people deal with things, how other people in the industry work, listening to interesting, motivating people, and just relying on your own instincts that whether or not you're doing the right thing.
I think there's a lot of people who have to learn how to look after a team or manage a team whilst they do it, and they aren't always going to get it right as well. And it's been big enough and ugly enough to know that you might be wrong.
Yeah.
And I think I've been wrong more than I've been right. But
Yeah.
I think I'm okay with that.
I heard about that too.
Thank you, Jesse. That's for another podcast too.
Management is fascinating, and that where we are now, there is an awful lot of babysitting involved in looking after the older generation, the younger generation, and everyone in between, from the staff, family.
Yeah.
Because there is a lot of needs, and some people are very needy, and some people just get on with it. And there's non-stop squabbles, or miscommunications, and all the rest of it. I mean, it happens. It's a huge extension of family life. Like, there's always dramas in family.
Yeah.
And there will always be dramas within a business
setting like that.
Yeah, with more than 2 employees.
Even with 2 employees, I'm pretty sure you're going to tear strips off each other occasionally.
Yeah, it's true.
So I am going to ask a couple of quick fire questions. I'm gonna see how we go with this.
And then I've got to give quick fire answers. So
well, that is the point. But we did have an Italian chef on here once who just decided to take 12 minutes an answer.
Right, okay,
so feel free. Favorite restaurant in London?
Yeah, it's a good, really good question. I think my favorite restaurant, I haven't been to it yet.
Okay.
Is that a weird?
No. I think. Okay, do you know what?
I really want to go to Silo.
Okay. Yeah. Zero waste.
Yeah. I think it's a fascinating concept of, contemporary, creative, cutting edge food with a contemporary, cutting edge view on how it should be run, which no one is doing. And that's about as edgy as anything gets and creative as anyone gets. That's creative thinking beyond.
I don't think anyone realises how much money he is saving by not throwing anything away as well. If everything has a value, then suddenly your yield is 100%.
Well, it's true. It's true.
Which is mind-boggling that if you were to consider that, and there was an interview with Prue Leith when she first started out, so I was throwing 30% of my food in the bin. So that's where all your money's going. If you think about it that way, then I haven't been either, but I think I probably like to go.
I think about it almost every week, and I can't believe I hadn't gone that previous week. I just got to suck it up and go.
Is it every time you look at your bill from Biffa and you're like, if only I didn't have these?
It's not just Biffa, it's there's a lot of bills.
Yeah. What's the dish you're most proud of creating?
I mean, I've got a few signature dishes. And
good use of air quotes there as well.
I mean, they can be a burden and they can be a joy. Sometimes you don't even have to think about them and you just kind of do them.
Yeah.
And then sometimes the staff are just churning them out and they're just doing it automatically. You got to just be careful and just think about it. It's very interesting to go back and eat those dishes every now and again, just to remind yourself that they are actually good.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably, the cow pie is the best dish because it's basic. It's for most people. It is warm and comforting, but then it works on many levels. It is just a meat pie with pastry, and the most basic person could enjoy that much of it. It's called a cow pie because it's got its connections to the Dandy magazine and Desperate Dan. It's got a chefy twist of having a bone marrow in the middle with bone marrow and parsley and breadcrumbs exploding out of it. It's very simple to serve and execute during service, which is a godsend to busy days. How long does it take in the oven to cook? It takes 7 minutes plus 4 minutes. Look at that. So for 7 minutes, you put the bone marrow in, and then it's 4 minutes, and then it's done. And you literally don't have to do anything else. And, we do a lot of them, and it's something that you don't need to worry about during service. So it works on many levels. The foodie can enjoy it. The dustman can enjoy it. The baby can enjoy it. The old man with no teeth can enjoy it. And everyone in between.
It's just the Hindus who can't enjoy it.
Well, yeah. Although we did over the last month, we've done a cowless pie for the January or whatever you call it, using non-meat and non-bone marrow, with a roasted parsnip in the middle.
How did you feel about that?
It looked exactly the same. It tasted slightly different, and it wasn't offensive. How about that?
There you go.
Yeah.
Win all round.
Yeah.
What one ingredient do you think is underappreciated?
I mean, the very simple and obvious answer in a home environment is salt.
Yeah.
And people neglect it. And that classic, I don't even know if this is a British thing, of sitting down with your tea and putting salt and pepper on it. It's like someone could have thought about that while they were cooking it, believe it or not.
About 2 to 7 minutes ago.
Yeah. And the danger that people feel about the levels of salt in home cooking is a bit sad. But an ingredient that what's the question exactly?
Do you think is what one ingredient do you think is underappreciated? I think salt in home cooking is a great answer.
Well, yeah, it is, and like one of my favorite ingredients, which is probably also underused, but is used by many people, is lemons, because I love everything about lemons, and you can use all of it in many ways for obviously many dishes and many parts of many dishes, be them sweet or savory, adding acidity or an edge to things and bringing things to life. And it's really something, maybe not even lemons, maybe acidity needs to be kind of appreciated a bit more.
Yeah.
And when I worked in America, on our stations, we had like 3 vinegars. I was like, 3 vinegars? I've never even had 1 vinegar on my station before.
Yeah.
And
going to acidulate your sauce.
Yeah, they always acid. It really needs acid. I'm like, what are you on about? I've never had that conversation with anyone before, but I totally understand it.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'd also killer American accent, so it's all good.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I never quite understood the concept of squeezing lemon on fish or vinegar on chips or, ketchup with anything, but it's all about acid.
Yeah.
But we've never really used it. You use that word for that reason in England before.
But yeah, here we are now when you're doing it, so that's all good.
Acid.
Which food trend do you think is overrated? Come on. There's got to be something that's really winding you up at the moment.
Food trend. I mean, I don't really love long-winded tasting menus. And that trend has been around for quite a long time.
Yeah. Now,
I'm loving the food. I love the breadth and depth and creativity of the food. I might even enjoy the menu and the environment and all the rest of it.
But if it's past 7 courses,
Yeah, it does get a bit too long-winded. And then if someone has to describe that course to you that's already written down on a menu and then tell you what farm it's from and which field the wheat is from and all the rest of it, it's like, I'm also here to have a conversation with the person I'm sitting with, and then you're disturbing me every 5 minutes. Oh, and then the wine pairing comes. You want to talk to me about that as well? Just pour it, mate. Seriously.
Just drink it.
So long-winded tasting menus with commentary
is maybe a touch unnecessary.
One of the worst food trends ever invented, because it's quite funny, that movie The Menu.
Yeah.
It's very cleverly done in a very nuanced way to people who actually understand how restaurants operate and the people that go there. And this chef worship business, I'm not into it at all.
Oh, really? Fair enough.
Chef Jesse has personally selected this
Well, I should hope
thing
so,
for you.
because he's the chef.
Yeah, he has. But he's also personally selected everything else for everyone else that's eating tonight.
So he's personally not done a great deal.
And he's personally in a really bad mood, so I wouldn't go in the kitchen.
I don't think you wanted to cook your food for you.
Yeah.
What's the one dish you've never been able to perfect?
Oh, I've had trouble beyond with croissants, and
that is great. Yes,
I worked
soft fluffy pastry. Let's hear that.
puff pastry. I could just about manage. Okay, getting layers of butter between sheets of pastry and folding it and all the rest of it. Yeah, you add yeast to that and temperature. Like, it's got its own thing going on. And I worked in Gidley Park with Michael Caines, and I worked in pastry for a while, and I was nailing the bread, I was nailing the puff pastry, croissants. I was like, right, maybe today's going to be the day.
I'm going to hazard a guess it wasn't the day.
And, you know, I would be so proud of these croissants, pulling them out of the oven. I'm like, I have nailed this. And then I'd bring them up to the pass, and then Michael Caines would look at it, he'd like, okay, croissants look okay. Let's just do a cut through, shall we? Oh, God. Cut through. Yeah, it's all fucked inside. Yeah. The outside, yeah.
Outside's brown, it's raw in the middle.
Yeah.
There's zero lamination.
It was, I just could not get my head around it.
And I
So
suppose
the discovery of those Just Roll tins that you can get in Sainsbury's that just happen to be vegan, which is also helpful for difficult people.
Yeah.
That you unroll the tin, which is very satisfying. You roll the croissant, because I was really good at rolling the croissant, and you just stick them in the oven. And then I discovered frozen croissants, which are even better. Who needs to mess around with puff pastry with yeast and heat when you can just buy frozen croissant and stick them straight in
And
the
also,
oven?
it does mean that when you do eventually go to France on holiday and you try one from a bakery, you taste it. Not only do you taste the love that has been given via the pastry, but you also understand how immeasurably difficult
I've got
it is
a little
to
bit
get
of an issue with what you've just said. Because I walk my kids to school. My kids go to school in Portobello Road, and I walk past this bakery every single day. Once a week, I'll have a croissant, and it's amazing, okay? The bakery is called Layla, and it's an amazing bakery. Amazing bakery. And they do all kinds of amazing pastries. But let's go to the foundation of it all and eat the simple croissant. The croissants are amazing. And then last summer, I went to France. I'm like, well, this is the home of croissants, yeah? Some dodgy croissants there, mate. I wish I was in Portobello Road in my cafe eating their croissants, because that's made by a grumpy Glaswegian pastry chef who's doing incredible things. And I went to France and they weren't that great. So take me to the school run.
We're only here to start beef. So what up, France? Your croissant are whack. I'm
big
sorry.
up to Layla Bakery.
And big up to Layla Bakery. Knocking down the door there. What's the most bizarre request you've ever had from a customer?
I've done everything, mate. you name it, I've done it.
It's slightly menacing when you say it like that. So I've done everything.
I've cooked dog food. I've done breast milk ice cream.
Of course you have.
I've cooked penises. I mean, you name it, and I've probably done it. How?
Just sorry. Penises?
Not human ones, thankfully. Yeah,
always worth a clarification.
That wasn't one of my greatest culinary discoveries, and I probably won't be repeating it. But let's leave it at that. It's probably illegal, actually.
Yeah.
Requests. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what? I think you may have won that round. I don't think anyone's ever going to top that, but it's worth a try.
You're welcome.
If you weren't a chef, what would you be doing?
Good question.
Struggling photographer?
I like photography a lot.
Yeah.
I like
probably
it
a successful photographer then.
I think since AI is kicking in, I don't think photography.
Oh,
probably exists
don't
anymore.
start with that as well, because at least the computers can't cook yet.
Well,
We'll be fine.
I think they're going to struggle to cook. So
Yeah. I think we're okay.
I really like photography, and I did a lot of photography in my teenage years at school. I was doing darkroom and printing it all and everything, and I'd set up a business at school, doing photographs of school plays and football teams and all the rest of it. And I did a photography at art college, and I loved it, and I loved the documentary style and real people and observation. I love observation. And then my cooking career sadly took away a lot of my photography until I discovered digital cameras when I was in America, and I had a digital camera, and I photographed my whole experience in America, which was fascinating. And as soon as I left Charlie Trotter's, they banned photography by the staff in the restaurant. But I managed to record the whole experience, and that was wonderful. And then digital photography died a little bit, and only until Instagram came out, and then I discovered the power of images again.
Yeah,
and I'm fascinated by it. I am obsessed with Instagram. One, because there's loads of weird shit on there that you waste your life on. But I love the power of image, and I love photography, and I love the art of photography and the skill of photography. And I know we've gone quite moving image now, but I still love the still image.
And I also think that most younger modern chefs understand the power of a really good piece of imagery that we maybe didn't understand previously. And you're never going to struggle for chefs who understand what a plate of food needs to look like if it's going to be shot by a camera. Like, you're going to get, there's a whole generation of chefs who understand now how good it needs to be for it to look that good on a underneath a light and struck a certain way.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to ask you is, if there's one thing you could ban from restaurants, what would it be? Please say camera phones, because that's probably a great one.
No, I don't care.
No.
What would I ban from restaurants?
If you could, if you're allowed to ban one thing.
It's quite interesting, isn't it? I mean, no shows are a big deal.
Yeah.
And I don't like it. And owning a 30-seat, quite expensive restaurant
kills
is a real killer.
Yeah.
I think tonight we had a 5 and a 4 cancel in the morning from a 30-seat restaurant. That's quite a big deal. If they don't show up and you're waiting for the table,
even worse.
That's nothing that you can ban. But it is fascinating.
I don't know. I think we could give it a try.
It is fascinating that you'll buy tickets for a concert or a theatre or a football match and commit to paying. And if you don't show up, it's not their problem.
Yeah.
But a restaurant, you don't show up, it's the restaurant's problem. It's not my problem.
Do you have a cancellation policy for less than 24 hours? Hard to enforce?
We rarely use it, but we do occasionally. And it's an awkward one.
Is it also the Google reviews that come after it when people get stung?
No, I don't even know if we've had that, to be honest. The best story about no-shows is Nicola Dennis.
Yeah.
You're probably too young for him.
No, I'm okay. But thank you very much. Very kind of you. That's I feel much better about my hairline.
One of the founding fathers of modern
gastronomy, right?
British gastronomy, by I think he was Egyptian or something like that. He was famous for not putting salt on the tables. He wouldn't serve steaks that weren't rare. He never went to any of his children's births because he was always doing service. Classic.
Oh, some good old-fashioned misogyny then, eh?
When there was no shows in the restaurant, he would wait until about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and then call the customer and saying, "Can I let the staff go home, or are you still going to come in for dinner tonight, madam?" That's a good one.
That is so childish, but so good.
It is so good.
Because you can almost guarantee that they're gonna pick up.
Yeah.
Because if you're getting a call,
it's got to be an emergency.
It's an emergency. Still got two chef de rangs and a sous chef waiting for you to come and order your steak au poivre, madame.
Yeah.
Can I let them go home?
Your stutters are ready, madame?
That's great. So I guess we should probably, the last thing is that,
We're wrapping up already?
Well, I mean, you've been talking for an hour.
All right. Keep it on.
But it's more, you are at that point where you've probably hired, okay, you will have 70 people working for you now, but you've probably hired 10, 50 times that amount of chefs and employees in your career or in just owning these restaurants.
Who's the best person I've ever employed?
No, well, I was never going to ask that. No. Well, we can get to that a bit off camera, I think. But it was more, is there a set of skills or is there a certain set of attitudes that you look for now that you can almost guarantee they'll be a success or not?
I mean, attitude, good attitude and enthusiasm will always override skill mostly.
Yeah.
And I love real nice people, and I always struggle with skillful, efficient, grumpy ones. And I mean, I've got to spend quite a lot of time with you, so we might as well try and get on.
Yeah.
Even if we're not great, at least we can have a good time. Because if we're really efficient and grumpy, and we had one manager who was like the most organized, professional person, but she was so grumpy. It's like, I can't work with you, darling. Like, you're probably the best person we've ever had working here, but you just can't work here because I can't spend a whole day with you.
This is a square peg round hole.
It can't be that bad. Yeah.
And also, that's always the thing that firstly, if you can't enjoy working in a restaurant, there's something fundamentally wrong, because it should be fun.
Yeah.
It should be stressful. It should be difficult. It should be hard, but also it should also be fun, because it's not life and death. We're not saving lives.
It really isn't.
Yeah.
I do think about that quite a lot, to be honest. This is
what about your own death, or just...
No, about how unhelpful it is in life to be in charge of a restaurant when there's a lot of interesting and complicated things happening in the world that we could actually contribute to. But we are giving joy to people every day, which is wonderful. And I'd like that to be the last point in this whole discussion.
All right.
The joy that we bring to people every day should be celebrated.
It's just the thing that if we choose to focus on that, the noise around on how hard hospitality can be and how hard it can be being a chef, that sort of becomes slightly insignificant, because you just enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
You just revel in that moment.
And it's complex, and I love the complexity of it, but you get the balance right and it's a complete joy. And when it goes wrong, it can just go so wrong so quickly.
Because I would say, for everybody who has worked in kitchens, you always remember your worst day, but the best days they're there, but you remember the toughest days. And I think it is something that we do all need to try and think about a little bit more, which is, this is fun. This is one of the best bits. I had
one of the worst days of my life on February the 12th, 2014.
Yeah.
That was one of the worst professional days I have had. And the next day I had a photo shoot on the cover of a magazine, and I looked the best I'd ever looked, but I had a bloodshot eye because I was so angry.
Well, you actually popped a vessel in your eye. Like,
it was a complicated service. That was the day before that, but all good in the hood. But I still remember the day.
Correct, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember the day for me, but it was awful. I remember having to let a chef go because he was on brunch. He had been asked to run the egg section on brunch, and he went through a whole tray of 24 eggs to poach, and he didn't poach a single one properly. They're just all obliterated in the pan. and he clearly just was not capable of working in this kitchen.
Yeah.
I had to let him go. Everything came crashing down around us, about 75 people for brunch in a pub in southwest London, or like September time, October time. And I remember crying in the office thinking, oh, this is awful. And then one of my best friends calls me and is like, oh, we've just found out we're 7 months pregnant and we've got a child turning up in 2 months, and that's it. And I remember feeling so excited and happy for them. And I'm like, tears coming down my eyes. This isn't going to work. We can't do anything. I still remember it to this day.
Complex day.
Complex day. But then,
Yeah.
I wouldn't do anything else, and it would appear that you don't want to do anything else.
No.
No?
I'm quite happy where I am. Thank you very much.
There you go. Which is in Parlour, Kensal Rise, 6 Portland Road. I've got that right as well. Yeah. In Holland Park or Notting Hill? It is
Holland Park, darling.
Holland Park, darling.
Old money.
Old money. And
we also do events by Harvest, so we can come to your house and cook your breakfast, lunch, dinner, bar mitzvah, circumcision, you name it.
I'll try and fit all 3 in this year. How about that? Thank you very much, Jesse, for joining us. It's been a real pleasure to talk to you about your career and your life, running your restaurants. It's been an honour and a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. Thank you. Thank you very much for joining us on the Only Chefs podcast. If you've enjoyed this, please like, share, subscribe. Recommend us to anyone who might want to find out a little bit more about being a professional chef in London and around the UK. Have a lovely day. Thank you very much for joining us.
Only Chefs is the UK's leading job board built just for chefs. We connect you with top kitchens looking for talent like yours. No BS, just real opportunities to level up your career. Find your next move today at onlychefs.co.uk.